Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another installment of the Middleborough High School Summer Series presented by Be More Chill. My name is Gabby, and I am the founder of The Guide, which is a YouTube channel that is dedicated to helping students get into college, prepare, and be successful once they are there. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do so. But we have a guest with us today. We're going to focus in on her. Her name is Tia. Tia, thank you so much for joining us. Just to start us off, can you give us a little bit of a short summary of what it is that you do?
Sure. I am an actor. I'm a writer. I am a co-founder of an organization for Black women in the performing arts called Bold. And I am also a coach for creatives. So I'm a business coach for people who create, for writers, for actors, for visual artists of all kinds. So I help them get past their blocks and nurture their creativity to get the work done, which is something that you don't usually learn in many programs, is the
Yeah.
how, like the practice of building a creative practice. And I help them to figure out what their voice is, what their true brand is, and help them get more money and leave an impact on the industry.
Nice, nice. So, what made you want to get into that? That's a very specific thing that you're doing. What kind of pushed you towards that?
Yeah, totally. I went to musical theater school. So I went to Columbia College Chicago, and yes, you said Chicago, and I was like, well, maybe no. But
Yeah.
if you went to Columbia College, you had to take a class called Professional Survival at the end, which I don't think a lot of theater programs have, and it was great. Like I learned how to, write a cover letter, to get agents, how to like what songs and music and monologues to have in my back pocket for auditions or for last minute things. And I was like, ooh, if I ever like teach something, I'm like, if I ever have to teach something as a professional, this would be what I would teach. I didn't really want to teach like anything else, but I was like, oh, I love this idea of like surviving as a professional. But I also found like as I got into the industry that there were some gaps in the, professional survival journey. And so most of those have included like mindsets and like I was saying, like actually figuring out who you are and what your story is that you're meant to tell. Because I think, as actors and writers, even in many visual artists, you go out into the industry and they want to tell you who you are. There's so many people that are like trying to type you, to put you in your whatever box that you need to be in. And it's not helpful, and so you're trying all this time to like conform and like be something. And I even like paid an image consultant and like casting directors to tell me like where do I fit. And so I had to really reconnect to like what I wanted to do in this industry, like why I even became an actor, and what I wanted it to look like. I think a lot of people forget like what they want matters. Like I can want a career that looks different, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is like I didn't learn how to, like I said, hone my creativity. It's something that has to be honed. It has to be, you have to figure out what time of day your brain works better,
Yeah.
And sometimes that means taking those hours of the day from your day job, having that negotiation, because you only got so much good brain creative time in here. And a lot of that included, figuring out how to collaborate better. And then I had to learn how to negotiate for myself. And that's something that they don't teach you too, how to pitch and negotiate. And that's kind of what drove me to start this company, this coaching business, because I noticed that people would come to me and ask me all these questions like, how do I negotiate? Or can I just let my agent do it? Which I say, no. Like you have to learn your value before you can show someone else like what your value is.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked about that. I feel like me and you are both very similar, where we started the things that we have based off of the lessons that we kind of learned going through the process. So Going off of that, um, when you started the business, right? What was your creative process like as far as, I don't know if you obviously you may have a logo or, what was your process when you first started? You're like, okay, I'm going to start this. What were the next steps after you had that initial idea?
Yeah, so I really had to figure out what my framework is, which is, like I say, like the three things: um, owning your voice, creating with ease, and profit, which you can't have. If you can't have influence on an industry if you don't have the eyes and the money. What I always say. So
Mm-hmm.
figuring out, figuring out like what three main things I wanted to say. I really tried to stick to three things that I wanted to say and I wanted to share, and going from there. I didn't know, what I if people would want to hear it, besides the fact that like people always ask me things, and so when I was like, well, will people pay for it? I'm not so sure. And it turns out that it is something of great value. And to be honest, there are lots of other services that pay for it, that provide it too. I think what I also bring to the table is like, it's relevant, it's an urgent thing. Like, we have to take back our voice, and a lot of my clients are people of color. We have to take back our voice. People have told us as actors what we're supposed to say, what we're supposed to be, stereotyping and all of those things. And like, it is time to take back your voice. And so I really just like, I started from a place of like, what do I always rant about? Like,
Yeah.
what am I always ranting about? What can my friends never get me to shut up about? And I just want to tell someone. And then what have I always wanted to learn? Because I'm always like, this is a problem, and this is something that all artists complain about. And I have such an optimistic, personality that like, I did not want to be like just another complaining person. I was like, how can we solve this problem? So
Yeah.
I got so much information. Like, I just started studying and studying and studying. And so when I wanted to start my business, I was like, I have so much intellectual property just from over the years learning how to solve these problems. And so this is something that I can sell. And that's what I think that like entrepreneurship is. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what you talk about all the time, what you've spent so much money and effort to solving those problems, that's your intellectual property. And you can share that with the world and make money from doing that if you love it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because there are so many people who are like, I feel like what I am passionate about or what I like, it can't make money. But it's like, my dad says this to me all the time: your gift will make room for you. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that is your gift, it's gonna make its way. There's a way to make money from it. I mean,
Yeah, there is. I mean, you have to find your audience. You have to find, your people. And the thing is, because I have been in this industry for so long and people know me, that like, I know I can tell you what I've been doing, and I have been doing it for free for so long, so now I see other people go to other services that are not doing the hard work of addressing like these real issues, because I also address in my creativity part of it, like, we need to dismantle some of this, hustle, work all the time mentality that the patriarchy puts on us.
yeah, you can't rest. Be like,
Rest. You have to grind. And I think that there is a way, I believe that there is a way for us to work smarter so that we're not always like tired. Like, I don't want to be tired all the time.
yeah.
And so, yeah. So knowing that like it's relevant, it's something that I'm ranting about all the time, I was like, this is something that is valuable, and people will invest in it.
Nice. So my next question for you, you hit on it a little bit, but maybe going in a little bit more in depth. What challenges have you encountered since starting your journey or, starting your business?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is really just getting started, because honestly, I started it during the pandemic, and I had always wanted to do it and I just didn't know how. And I think the pandemic provided an opportunity where people wanted to learn, things from home, and they jumped on it. So I had all these ideas for years of like, I want to write a book, or what is, just figuring out what it looks like, what my business will look like. And, just narrowing it down and being super decisive. I think that's one thing I think about as an entrepreneur. That's a big challenge. It's like making the decision, like having the gift of decisiveness, which I don't necessarily think is a gift because I worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to learn how to be decisive and trust. Well, it's trusting yourself to make the right decision. And so deciding that I wanted to have a membership, which is what I have, a membership of people who, pay a certain amount of money a month to learn what I'm teaching. And they check, we have weekly meetings and we have courses and we have challenges that we go through together. And so just really just deciding what I wanted to do was probably my biggest challenge. And like, then after that, I'm off because I'm very like, let's go, I'm very,
Has there ever been a time, I know you said you started it during the pandemic, so, very recent.
yeah.
Has there been a time since you started where maybe you've gotten a little discouraged and been like, oh God, maybe this was not the best decision?
Yeah, I think when you realize that people want it, that can be scary for you. Like for me, it's like, oh shoot, now I have to show up, And so
Right.
like remembering that you actually have something to offer, like reminding yourself like, okay. Like, but I think it's the same thing when I get cast in something. When I get cast in a show, I want it so bad, but then I'm like, oh,
Oh my God, I got it.
I have to do it.
I have to do this actually.
I have to do this thing. Cool. Yeah. So I think that's probably, and like every business requires an investment. And so having to look at the money part is something that I have to always like pay attention to and kind of struggle with and invest in the areas of my business that I think will be profitable. And for me, a lot of that is like delegating. And so hiring an assistant and like knowing when to let go of that assistant if it's necessary. And so I think I've only started a few months ago, but it's already like, okay, decisions. And then, living with decisions if it wasn't great, you have to, and also just like being honest, with yourself and be like, you know what, this is a lesson.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on that too. I mean, the audience that we're trying to reach with this are, for the most part, high schoolers, right? And a lot of them, I know when I was in high school, I was deathly afraid of failing or going outside of my box or making decisions that didn't work. What would you say to students who know that they want to start their own business, but they may be in that space that I was in when I was in high school? I'm like, I know that I want to, but I'm afraid of not doing what I think it can do.
Yeah, I think that if you have space to fail, and I want to be like super honest about this, like not everybody has space to fail. People of color, sometimes they don't have as much space to fail as our white counterparts. So I would just encourage you to take a failure if you can, to try it. And if you fail, know that you can get back up. In any situation, you can get back up and try again and learn from that. Because that's like really what life is. It's like taking risks and maybe failing sometimes and maybe getting it right. But I think that you have to take that risk. You have to take the risk. And I like to say that most of the time, the worst thing that can happen to you is an emotion.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like if you fail, you'll die. You won't be necessarily like, it's more the emotional, it's the shame, it's the embarrassment or the loss, which is really an emotion. And emotions are real, but just knowing that, like, calling it an emotion and knowing that you can deal with that and you can reach for the next higher emotion sometimes and continue to heal from that is like, we have control over that sometimes.
Yeah. Good. My last, well, meaty question for you. What are some of your heroes or people that have inspired you or influenced you throughout this process?
Oh, I think, gosh, well, Rachel Rogers is one of my coaches. She was really inspiring because if you go to her, if you Google her, you'll see that during the time that, during the moment that George Floyd died, she really held accountable people in the coaching space
Mm-hmm.
in a way that was like, you would think that she would lose a bunch of clients, you know?
Yeah.
Did you see this? I don't know if you were aware of like her. She had this
Oh,
video that she went live, like she was like crying, she didn't have a bra on, like it was very like, just like,
raw.
yeah, yeah, it was very raw. It was because she felt that like some of her white counterparts in the coaching space were not listening to the hurt people in their communities, people that pay them. And she had the audacity to call them out. And it really, really worked in her favor. And it showed an authenticity. And so I know it also showed me like, I don't always have to be perfect. And that's one thing that she teaches a lot too, is like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be perfect. Show up who you are. And I make a ton of mistakes. Like I sent an email that like was all wrong a couple weeks ago and was like, whoops, let me just deal with this in a way that is like, listen, I made a mistake. I was honest. And she inspires me because learning from her and seeing that she makes mistakes and the way that she apologizes for it and the way that she holds other people accountable too is just like very inspiring. And it also like, I think pushes our culture forward to a place where we can like not have to be so perfect all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially people of color, we feel like we have to be put together all the time. Even so, I'm the youngest director at my agency,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like, I have to be put together and perfect all the time. And it's like, you don't have to be, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're the youngest person here. So you're definitely going to make mistakes. Which is something that I definitely want young people to grasp early on. Like, do not feel like you have to be this like perfect put together version of yourself all the time. It's not real. It's not
Yeah.
a thing. So,
Yeah.
okay. So I have some fun questions for you.
Ooh.
So, number one, who is your favorite musical artist?
Oh man, it's changed so much over the years. Who is it right now? I would say like a Leanne Lahavas type of person, but I not exactly like I don't know. I just think of a sound.
Okay.
Maybe Frank Ocean. I don't know. I'm not.
Okay. I love Frank.
He's great.
Okay. So, next one, if you could choose to be any person for the next 24 hours, who would it be?
I'd say like, oh my gosh, Michelle Obama.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I
either
love
Michelle Obama or Gail, the Gail King. I feel like
Gail lives a very good life, let me say.
yes.
I love her. Okay.
Yeah.
And then last one for you. I'm not sure if you're big into it, but we'll see. Who is your favorite social activist? Who's someone maybe you've seen on social media that you've been like, wow, you're really taking advantage of this time period?
Rachel Cargle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her life's work and the way that she deconstructs language to point out, you know, white supremacy
Mm-hmm.
and white privilege and to help. It gives me voice for all of the things that I ever dealt with, or that I ever dealt with as a kid growing up, and like being like, that didn't sit right, but I can't really tell you why, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because we didn't really, like, for me, I didn't have the language to like express to my college roommates or to people in high school who said things to me why I didn't feel right about it, because it like saying that's racist didn't feel right, but something was not right about it, you know.
Yeah.
Usually just like a centering of white culture that like I didn't like and I didn't know how to express. And the way that she breaks it down, and she has a whole community and a membership thing for people to kind of dismantle that. So Rachel Cargle.
Nice. I need to look her up.
Yes.
Okay, well, guys, that's all the time that we have for today. I want to thank you again, Tia, for joining us. Thank you all for watching. And thank you to Be More Chill for putting together an initiative like this that allows us to come together and have these types of conversations. Please remember to subscribe to all of the social media that is mentioned. And I will see you all next time. Bye.